Darling!
AltaJV just subscribed. Altaj2spin, Altaj2spin, Altaj2spin.
Very good work, me. Fantastic. Welcome in, darling Alter. And thank you for becoming my sub, Uwu. There we go, yes. I just have to hit the button that says, word come out now. Actually, it just says mixer, but still. Salutations, 'tis I, the Yao Guai, and it is Thursday night. We are skipping the usual chat window a bit because this is all going to be chat to come over here live. And hello, darling Alter Bestbot. How are you today? I know why you subbed, though. You want to see another pack of Kamigawa get opened. Fair? Fair? It is, Sleeveless Thursday. I don't have my signature orange sleeves on because it is currently 76 degrees up here. Which is really damn warm for me. And I could turn the AC on very easily. However, I know it's going to get damned cold during the night, so why bother running the AC only to have to run the heater when I could just stay uncomfortable for a little bit? You're fine, Dop is cooking. You're on one of the counter stools you built. Fantastic. Hello, Sulfur darling. Hello, welcome in. How are you? Yes, it has been hailing, snowing, everythinging. Our token is a samurai. Gotta wake the fuck up, samurai. Let's see here. We've got 5 colors. The basic land shall be... Well, if the token's white, let's be optimistic and say it's plains. Forest. Dagnabbit. Well, look at that forest. Very, very pretty. I do love the artwork on the Kamigawa set. And we did not get hail this far south. We did get a tremendous amount of cloud cover, and then eventually some rain, and then just as the sun was cutting through directly through my skylights in the late afternoon, early evening, it came out and was incredibly bright and heated the crap out of my floor. And how is the darling Sulfur? How is the darling Sulfur? Congratulations on the stools, by the way, Alter. Dramatist's puppet. Much puppet, very drama. Artifact creature construct, that's a big theme with Kamigawa. You're doing? That is good. Any hail down there? Chillin' stream setup, very glad to be listening. Aw, darling, thank you. Bamboo Grove Archer, have not seen this one yet. It is a... Focus, you fuck. Defender with reach. It's a 3/3 Sneck Archer. And it's got a channel, destroy or discard Bamboo Grove Archer to destroy target creature with flying. So instead of putting it out there for pretty cheap, all things considered, for a 3/3 Defender reach. Well, 3/3 reach, Defender's But alternatively, just Shrek something that flies. Just west of the dry line, but barely. Massive storms that crushed the country started just east of you. Well, they were rough. We haven't had rain in so long. Well, if you want some of mine, just come up north and take as much as you want. We usually have an excess, and I refuse to give it to California. We got the Network Disruptor, Rogue. When it drops into battle, it taps a permanent. Gotta love those magic hackers, even if they've got ridiculous hair. Doge. Spirited Companion. When Spirited Companion enters the battlefield, draw a card. Pretty straightforward, but... Doge. Best card, 10 out of 10. Let's see, then we got the Kindled Fury, because it's red, so we've got to have something involving Fury and Fire on every single card. Gains first strike, though, so that's pretty cool. Hello, Fox, darling, welcome in. Darling? That's right, motherfucker. I was watching your stream and it seemed to have imploded right last second, or I was muted, had the stream down low at like the worst time, but you just all of a sudden weren't doing the thing, and I was scared and alone. So alone, Fox. Without the shrub nearby. Reckoner Shakedown. Really don't know what to say about that art. Just... somebody read Neuromancer, I guess. Which, I mean, I'd hope so. Well, it sometimes happens. I would check the VOD to make sure that it captured at least as far as you got. But when I had an issue with connection, it absolutely just... Go away, Discord notification on my tablet. I do not care. It had, I'd been having some serious problems, and it didn't let me know it disconnected half hour into a really dark stream, only to then stop recording after an hour and a half. So I had to redo some of the saddest parts of Cyberpunk. Got the Kami of the Restless Shadows. Them shadows do be restless, yo. Another Imperial Fanmancer. Subdue them with the power of fans. Quite fancy. Okiba Reckoner Raid, because they've got Were-Rat street gangs. Or Were-Rat bike gangs, actually. Which turns into the Road Captain, who's just straight up graffiti art. Blade Blizzard Kitsune. Ninjutsu for double strike. So when something of yours attacks and gets through, is unblocked, you can swap it out with this card from your hand, and it does double strike, so it does double damage, essentially. And that's pretty cool. Twitch is having the big dumb right now. Twitch is being pretty the dumb right now. Frustrating as it is. Boon of Boseiju, an instant where target creature gets XX until the end of turn, where X is the greatest mana value among permanents you control, and untap it. So, Power Thirst, the card. Oh, alright. Alter, you correctly claimed first, and we're also first, so that's fantastic. I have water, hydration, and hydration. It was a good stream. It was very enjoyable to watch you play a samurai in Elden Ring. It was also very good seeing you do way the hell better than everybody else I had seen start Elden Ring. Like, the number of people I know who got bitched up by those birds, it's amazing. And then we got the Awakened Awareness. So you are awake and aware. Pretty sure this card is also brought to you by Power Thirst. Our rare is the Mirror Box. Interesting art, kind of basic, but... Well, actually, no, the art is detailed. It's just predictable for a mirror object. But, I mean, it's a mirror object. It's mirrors. The legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. Each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1. Each non-token creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control with the same name as that creature. Holy shit. So, what this means is legendary cards, which you can have up to 4 of in your deck like any other card, but you just can't have more than 1 out of that particular card, doesn't apply to you. And then each legendary creature you have out gets boosted, and then each non-token you control gets boosted for each other creature with the same name. So you throw out a whole bunch of legendaries. Kapow. Yeah, Ignore Legend seems like it probably comes up more often than it should because it's such a restrictive rule. But, I mean, at least it's on a rare. And then a foil Brute Suit for your Brute Suit Riot. Whoa. It's really hard to look at, which is why I don't like the foil cards myself. They don't camera as well, and I gotta tell you, my eyes aren't much better with them. Also, it's a common card that they put in foil now, so now you have to go and collect 2 different versions of it. But that is our pack for Altar's Sub. It's kind of appropriate that we ended up with at least 1 mecha, and it's the Brute Suit, which looks a bit like if Magic the Gathering had designed the Brute from Titanfall 2. I think there's some subtle homage there. But today, despite all of the outrageous fortunes and jackassery of the world, is the day we paint minis. Which is a good day. I think camera gets fuzzy if there's nothing interesting, which is obnoxious, but not insurmountable. Unsurmountable is what I almost said. Nice of Alter to net me a robot. Indeed. Thank you, Alter, darling. So what I've got, and I've got the... So I 3D printed up a while ago a wet palette. Man, where did my brain go there? A wet palette, because some things you just don't have to buy because you can 3D print them. And if you can't tell, at the same time, I also 3D printed up a water cup. And what I've got going on is, to keep in frame, I will be painting with my hands within the reach of this cup, so that you can actually see what the hell's going on, because otherwise, I'll take the mini and do this. And if the microphone had a camera on it, it would be okay. But you guys aren't seeing shit. And it's just going to be a lot of, yes. Oh, that looks good. Ooh, I should have clipped that. Darn. That's still on there. That's a good color. You know, I like how that color lays. That looks great. Much pants on this guy. Though, to be fair, Duo Maxwell is very pants. Cam the mic. I mean, just get a webcam. What we will be working on today is, at the very least, color blocking Duo Maxwell, who won't be hard, black, brown, and, well, the skin tone of somebody who wears all black everywhere. This 3D printed Warhound which is printed. I will get closer pictures so you can see the flaws, like there's a crack in the leg I think you can see there. But that's, easily fixed, and it's also still on, so that's fine. But I 3D printed this on my filament printer, not on my resin printer. So it actually is printed like this thing, which has all this rough texture to it. Rough, but it actually came out pretty smooth. I wouldn't necessarily use a filament printer for your player character or your named antagonists, but for things like Warhounds, especially if you need a Warhound to occasionally stick your halfling fighter on, for example. Works really well, and that's like 5 cents worth of material and power. It's not even of consequence. I'm just painting it, honestly, painting it because I want to see how that goes. I had to heavily prime it, but one good thing about these things is because they're semi-porous in nature, it's really hard to over-prime them. Because the primer will just seep into the cracks, which will fill in the cracks, which will actually make them look a little smoother. But I'm sure by the time we've got 2 thin coats of paint, highlight, and an ink wash on this guy, he will probably be indistinguishable from your average low to mid-grade mini, your average budget tier mini, and is going to be hella cheap. And the third one I've got, and you guys are going to have a bitch of a time seeing this because I know, because I tried it, because I tested things. I didn't turn my mic back on, but I tested things. But this is version 2 of a character I'm going to be playing in tomorrow's D&D game. This is Simo the Sniper after he had an emotional catharsis and broke his sniper rifle down to save the party, bit by bit, and picked up a pistol off of possibly himself in the future, whom he had to kill twice because he also had a clone. Possibly not. Which symbolized him getting in closer. There's a whole friendship is magic sort of vibe going on with the future, and he realized that he was a sniper and everything to sort of keep people at a distance. He was friendly enough, and he always encouraged people to make friends and make connections, but he himself didn't allow people to get close to him other than just being friendly. Well, that doesn't work. So he started to heal. He started to become a more actualized person. I mean, who hasn't had to kill their future self to avoid a paradox event? True enough, true enough. I mean, I've heard that's not how some people celebrate President's Day, but I mean, I'm not your manager. The funny thing about this guy, though, is that it is actually out of date. He's now moved on to wearing the power armor that he himself from the future possibly was wearing when he killed himself, possibly. It's not 100% it's him, but all the technology responded to him like it was him. So, but he's now wearing the power armor and wielding a Hill Giants club that's actually a relic of their people that he's profaned, because he's that kind of guy now. So I'm going to paint him, take pictures of him, show the group, and then immediately shelf him to then build and paint a gnome wielding a Hill Giants club while wearing plate armor. But I need to get him fucking painted. I swear the only reason he's still alive is that I haven't finished painting him yet. That is what I've got going on for tonight. As a reminder, there's my hand. And that's upside down. There we go. Here's all of my paints. Each one of these racks here is 5 by 4, and there's 2 per stack. And I've got 8 stacks. And we've got some lined up on the top, mostly specialty paints. And then a few odd ducks down here I haven't sorted in, like I've got this black gold, really dark gold-toned metal. I need to get up there with the gold and the silver from the same company. I've got this big of a collection because I've got a problem. And that problem is I don't know how to blend colors for shit. So I just don't. Why blend the color you want when you can just buy the color you want? Each of those bottles is like $3.50. I've spent a lot of money on this. Anyway. So Majestic, I still want to come over and organize it so badly. Again, darling, if a fox randomly appeared at my doorstep, my question would not be, how did you know where I am? Who sent you? Was it the psychic police down the street? It would be, cool, you want sushi or ramen? There's good places for both nearby. And then we'd figure out what to do after dinner. Honestly, that goes for a lot of people. I'm genuinely unconcerned with having random people show up at my house, which is odd considering how much I hate people and I'm an introvert, but there's a difference when they're people I know. Or at least people I know well enough and also know that I'm, a gun owner. So if shit goes down, it's not gonna work out. Also, this is not the neighborhood to start shit anyway. I mean, we've got the Psychor watching our backs. Do see we've got... I'm not going to do too much model cleanup on these at this point because, I mean, this is a Duo Maxwell that came with a level 2 or level 3 Gundam kit back when they were numbered like that. So he's not great quality, and he's got like a circle in the back from printing, but there is also just this little tag here. And take him off camera and scrape that off real quick and then prime him. And then this guy's just all sorts of small print errors that will not be noticed. I bought something the other day off of somebody who is occasionally in here, and they're like, I'll need your address if that's okay. I'm like, I'm not at all worried about you randoming by. I genuinely am not concerned about you having my address. Aside from the fact that it's a long goddamn trip for this individual. Like, they're not gonna swap me. And I don't think they know any goons over here. And again, not the neighborhood to start shit. So, They show up one day and are all like, hey, I've been stalking you. I'd be all like, sweet, why? Out of all the options out there, out of all of the choices, you chose to stalk this. Are you alright, honey? Giving myself a little bit more room to maneuver. I think I'm going to start blocking Duo and the dog. I chose to have two secondary projects because I want to get Simo Qualish, no relation, possibly some relation, right. And I don't want to fuck him up, but it's been a year or two? It's been at least, as ironic as it is, it's been about a pandemic. Like, I've been in my house this whole time, but I just didn't get to it. Oh, that's not the right color. Got one of those grabby claws on a stick. Not because I can't reach, but because it's annoying, and it's easier just to stay seated. Also, less likely to, put myself on camera on accident like an idiot. I think you... Get over here, you. It's not my blackest black. It's, coal black. It's pretty black. Actually, let's go a little lighter. Like a Zippo as opposed to a hippo. Yeah. Dusky shadow, or dusky skin shadow. So it's going to be a little bit brown. Well, no, actually, since it's going to be... You know, actually, yeah, that'll work fine. This is just the base coat, so when painting minis, the general rule of thumb... Well, the general rule of thumb is fuck anybody who tells you what the rule of thumb is. It's how you want to do it, and if it comes out great, it comes out great. If it comes out terrible, it comes out terrible. The important thing is whether or not you like it, and, you know, fuck anything else. However, if you do have a rule of thumb, I have a paint mixer, but it's loud, and I don't want to put it on while the mic's going. Is that you want to prime, base coat, shadow, and then highlight. Or if you're going for something darker, more noir, something with more subdued highlights, swap those. So prime, base, highlight, then shadow. Because shadowing is oftentimes done easiest with an ink wash, which you apply more or less to most of the surfaces. And as such, it provides a light tint wherever it goes, and then fills into the cracks and crannies and crevices, making it pick up the recesses better. Just like highlighting picks up the high points. Nope. And you go about it that way. If you want to tint everything a little darker, like if you're painting miniatures for the Batman fighting or tabletop game, which, you know, you'd be one of 5 people playing that, but okay. Or if you're doing something else, particularly dark in coloration, that would be how you want to go. However, if being drab, dark, and grim is not what you want to do, then shadowing and then highlighting lets the highlights stay light, as it were. Yeah, I think this will tint dark enough. If not, oh well, a miniature from, or a figure from the 90s doesn't look great. Surprise. But if you keep your highlights bright, it gives it a more glowing, more positive, brighter look to it. Less grimdark. And of course, you can also heavily shadow everything and then go back through and do strong highlights on certain things. If you want to have something that fits in with a grimdark setting, but also brings a brightness. But again, the ultimate rule of thumb is don't let your tablet turn off while you're reading chat, or keeping an eye on chat, and if you enjoy the result, who cares how you got there? Get yourself a Screen Always On app. I think it's something I can tweak in the settings. It's a Chromebook, but I would think if I'm actively watching Twitch, it would not turn off. But I would think a lot of things about Chrome OS that are not true. Now, one really good thing about using a wet palette is, by and large, you don't have to thin your paints. Or if you do, it's by a very small amount, because what the wet palette is it's a sponge full of water, or actually several layers of sponge, with a piece of semi-permeable paper. Art grade ones are meant for thicker paints and have something that's more permeable, like poster board. But for miniatures, because our paints are already thin enough, it's you use parchment paper, which is silicon coated on one side in a nice thin coat, and then the other side isn't. You put it silicon side up so that the moisture from the sponge soaks into the paper, but doesn't fully leak through. It permeates it, allowing it to slowly impart moisture onto the paint. Which is really nice because it keeps your paints fresh. You don't have to worry about them drying out, especially if you put the lid on between sessions. And it also thins them a little, but not too much. Artist wet palettes, like I said, they're meant for mostly thick paints, which Minis paints very much are not. So they will allow them to get too runny. Whereas the parchment paper is sort of a just right type thing. Now, if you do want to thin your paints, you totally can. But you don't have to use nearly as much. Which is good for consistency of pigmentation and drying consistency and a whole host of factors. Because if you over-thin your paints, you're going to have a bad time. If you under-thin your paints, it's going to be not nearly as bad, because it's going to stay put, and it's going to be perfectly vibrant, but you'll end up with brush marks on smooth surfaces. Brush marks that won't come out with the second coat. Ooh. Doing a lot of leaning. Need to get a POV cam, and then just remember to take it up when I do a bathroom break. Or, I mean, you know, not and charge extra. Now, one sort of absolute rule of painting is proper brush maintenance. My instructional ability is quite entertaining? Well, thank you. I'm not sure how I feel about my instructional skills, because I don't really... It's been a while since I've taught somebody to paint minis, and this isn't quite what that is. I think I might do another stream some other time, when I have a little bit more time to prepare, where we do something start to finish. But... words. I do want to sort of show that to a degree at the very least. But one of the main rules of, like, where there is a rule of model work, of painting, is you want to keep your brush, if you will show. We've got, well, actually, you know what? I think I've got a better example of a brush. Yeah, this will pick up just fine. So this one's a little hairy because I've had it for a long time, and I also use it to clean things. Hence the, not sure if you're seeing the wafts of dust coming off of it. But you want to keep paint in the bottom third or so of the brush. You don't want it to get too close to the ferrule, because if it gets up into the metal ferrule, or ferrule, I don't fucking know how it's pronounced, honestly, it will dry in there, and it will cause it'll swell, and it'll cause the brush to start to splay out at the metal section. It's something that can sort of be reversed. This one was revitalized. Darling!
Laffielcio03 just subscribed. It's my special time of the month.
Fair enough. I'm a little confused what that special time would be, darling. But thank you for re-upping your sub. Your dedication to being my sub is astronomical. A high level of detail explaining things well, the wet board, paint layering, it's good. Okay. But if you get paint into the ferrule, it'll dry, harden, which will make it more difficult to remove to begin with. It'll also cause the bristles to splay out, ruining the brush. Also, if you get a lot of water up in here, usually the bristles are held together with glue that will slowly dissolve, and eventually you'll start seeing hairs on your brush coming off, which will also ruin your brush. So you want to keep paint just at the front end for the most part. And now, if you buy cheap brushes, you can ignore this rule. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with picking up a, like, it's less than $2 if you're being honest. Well, that's okay. Honestly, just the fact that you did it means a lot to me. But, you know, if you pick up cheap acrylic brushes like, come here, you. Like this. You know, your dollar store brushes, your craft store bargain shelf brushes, and you mess these up, it does not matter. You can revitalize these too. You don't use the same materials because the acrylic bristles will melt, but you can. And one of the more common things is to rebuild the tip, which will curl over a lot with acrylic brushes. On camera, jackass. With acrylic brushes, because they're soft and plastic, so they will bend eventually. And what you really want to do is just put it in hot water, let it soak for a little bit, soak for just a few minutes, pull it out, and just sort of do this. It'll naturally come back to its shape. I keep a good number of brushes on hand, mostly acrylics, and then I've got these like $20-some a brush. Not sure if it's showing. Get to your pack in a moment, Raffi darling. Winsor & Newton Series 7s, which are super well engineered to be fantastic brushes, which is why I'm very careful with them. Because these are like my daily driver. They are precise enough and stout enough to do everything I need it to do. To do 99% of what I do. I base coat with a different brush. I dry brush with a different brush because both of those, not base coat, prime. Because both of those are fairly damaging to brushes, especially dry brushing. Let's see here. We've got a pilot. This creature crews vehicles as though it were power 2 greater, so it crews like a 3. That's cool. Specifically meant for crewing. Let's see here. We had token creature of no color, so last one was green. Let's say this is mountain. We've got... Oh! Nope. House winds. Our land is a dual land. And I got none of them. Scoured Barrens. We got the grafted growth, which is kind of neat. It's trees growing out of a tree. Something that you can totally do. Very nice artwork. Standard green stuff. Enchant land, growth. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target vehicle you control. Enchanted land has tap to add 2 mana of any one color. Kinda cool. Ambitious assault once again. Them goblins just are very ambitious. They got high thoughts. And very energetic. Another one of these neon sort of classical art style, like really reminds me of old cards like from the Dark. Lethal Exploit. Can't really see it, but it's basically plate armor with a stabby bit through it. Looks honestly kind of like a volcano. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Gets an additional -1/-1 until the end of turn for each modified creature you controlled as you cast the spell. So you get a lot of tokens down, you get a lot of enchants and equipped artifacts and such. That can kill somebody pretty quickly. Favor of the Jukai. Be the Lorax, speak for the trees. Neat art, standard green stuff. Standard blue right there with the Disruption Protocol. I've got to say, having glass thrown in my face by somebody would be pretty distracting, so that is an effective protocol right there. As an additional cost to cast the spell, tap tap an untapped artifact you control or pay 1 colorless. Counter target spell. It's a 2 blue counter. Typical blue shit. Repel the Vial. Very Attack on Titan. Like, that is, actually, no spoilers for you, Fox, but let's be real. Samurai versus Giant Skeleton is probably going to come up for you. Then we got the Fang of Shigeki, a Sneck Ninja. On camera. There we go. Has Death Touch, just good old green Death Touch. Alt art card or full art card for the Sunblade Samurai. I do like the fact that the alt art cards for Neon Dynasty are anime style. Absolute cutie. But 4 and a white, it's a 4/4 Vigilance. Channel to search your library for a basic Plains card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle and gain 2 life. I don't think I would use that channel, but I also don't know the tactics of white very much. Because most of it's not tactics, it's just either turn into a wall or run yourself headfirst into a wall. Mecha Boar, Iron Hoof Boar. Piggy's got robot feats. That's a large piggy with robot feats. Like, that's something you call in the Mecha Brute Squad stop. Trample and Haste is a hell of a combination. Got another one of the Raiders. Raiders! Secluded Courtyard, which is an uncommon, one of our uncommons. I don't know, looks cool. Nice artwork. Often the tactics of whites. Often the tactics of the whites. I gotta get that right. Often the tactics of the whites, yes. Agree, which is why whites are the worst. Oni Cult Anvil. Look, I've done blacksmithing before. Don't let your anvil get possessed, and don't buy a possessed anvil. It doesn't work out like you think. And don't get a possessed one, have it consecrated, and then let it get possessed again, because then it's just going to be repossessed and you can't use it anymore. Whenever one or more artifacts you control leave the battlefield during your turn, create a 1/1 colorless construct token. This ability activates once each turn. Sacrifice an artifact, the anvil deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain 1 life. So that is peak black-red. Deal damage, heal off of it, and if something dies, replace it. The Imperial Recovery Unit, who we have seen before. He's one of the earlier ones we pulled, but it is a mecha. When the Recovery Unit attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from graveyard to hand, and it takes 2 crew. So easily pilotable by the pilot token. Our rare is Boseiju, who endures, a legendary land. Tap for green, channel for 1 and a green, discard the card, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land opponent controls. That player may search their library for a land card with a basic land type, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control. 1 less colorless. So if you have a legendary creature out, it's just 1 green, but you're also still sacrificing a legendary land to do so, to make somebody get a basic land. That seems stupid. And then the Scoured Barrens, which is white-black. When it comes into the battlefield, you gain 1 life. So, neat cards. Good options there, Raffi. Thank you. Now, let's see here. You are... Well, you're dry. I could do the second layer, but I want to show how cool it is to have a wet palette. If you don't have a 3D printer, though, don't despair. You can still get a wet palette done easily from a dollar store. Just get a locking, storage, a kitchen storage container with a locking lid that's relatively shallow, and some sponges and some parchment paper, and that's it. In fact, if you're extremely precise, you technically probably don't need the sponges at all, as long as you have a thin layer of water down. Any moisture will work, ultimately, but you could use paper towel, something that just holds on to the moisture. That's really the great thing about wet palettes, is that you don't need to spend a lot on them. So I'm looking at the dog's leg is cracked and wiggly. You know what, I'm going to save myself a problem here, and I'm going to dislocate my shoulder to reach behind my back. Nope, it's not where I put it last. There we go. Hello! I'm gonna just glue the damn thing. And because I have glue drying, I will go and block the next color, or, block the next color for Duo. Because the last thing you want to do is super glue your expensive $20-some brush shut. There we go. Took a slight amount of the primer off, but nothing big. There we go. Keep you out just in case there are some emergencies, but I'll be fine, I'm sure. Let's do this second layer on Duo. I've got the paint thinned just from being on the palette, but I also applied a little bit of water to my brush, which is another reason why you don't need fancy thinners, is you've got a whole pot of it right there when you wash your brush. And the second layer just helps establish the color and even out the brush strokes. 2 thin coats is generally better than 1 thick one, because a thick coat will pick up brush strokes easier, so it'll look painted. And what you're generally aiming for is it looking colored, if that makes sense. It's a bit like when you Sharpie something, you can very easily tell when you went back over it with a Sharpie, because there's smudge lines through the ink of the permanent marker. Trying not to use name brands. I ain't sponsored. Fuck y'all. Same concept, really. You do 1 coat, it sort of shows lines. You do a second coat, it applies lines over those lines and makes it to where those lines are not noticeable. And if you use a thin enough paint, it's not going to show. Like, it's not going to show lines from its coat. Also, if you're doing this relatively close in time to your last layer, so same day generally speaking, the very surface layer is going to get, or the very, very surface of the layer you put down is going to get remoistened and melt slightly, which allows the layers to fuse, making a stronger bond of the paint, but also helping the second brush strokes take out the first ones. This is especially so with enamel paints, because they use a thinner. They use a paint thinner, whereas acrylic paints are just water-based. Usually. You can do acrylic based on a thinner, but it's honestly just there's no point to it, really. And the main thing is the color is a solid uniform color and the brush strokes are minimal to non-existent. Now on a model such as this, with a lot of flat lack of detail, because it's a very simple model, some brush strokes are probably still going to be noticeable no matter what. But it's really, really hard to tell. You guys aren't going to see it because this is a 1080p camera. But, it's one solid color. It's not blotchy. It's not spotty, like some parts are thicker than others, or more colored than others. It's all a solid tone, which is important. Because while it can look good, you can have some positive effects of having a blotchy paint color. I know somebody I know was painting Minotaurs, and the Minotaurs were done with a single layer of brown over white primer, and they came out very splotchy looking, which just made them look more like cows. And they liked that. They liked that effect. I could show them how to do that effect without having blotchy colors, but they liked it because it saved time and it looked good. Done. That's all you need. You like it. It saves you time and it looks good. That's fine. You know, it saves time and looks good. Blocking out your colors one by one. Like just getting all the colors, all your ducks in a row on the color pattern. Let's go with you. So that it's all base coat, all highlight, all darken, what have you. Going with golden highlight, because he's pretty pale. It's all about your satisfaction with the project. Yes, indeed. And then what I'm doing is just sort of bouncing the bottle. One of the reasons why I like these dropper bottles, like Reaper uses, which is what most of my paints are, or Vallejo, is that they are very precise to release paint, they seal incredibly well, and you can just grab them by the cap, bounce them to shake them up. Now, if your hand gets tired from this, you can always just, you know, high school kid. But, your wrist will get sore anyway. I do have a paint mixer. It's, this thing way back here in the back. Robart paint mixer. That's loud as shit and kind of dying. So it's even louder. So we're avoiding using that. All about your satisfaction with the project. 1000%. Now, one of the things about these dropper bottles, especially if you have them tipped back upside down like I do. Hey!
Koyami Nakamura just subscribed. It's 2 months.
Kahime darling, welcome in, welcome back, and thank you for returning to be my sub. If you have them tipped upside down, they'll sometimes develop this little hat of paint. And if you don't have them tightly secured, that can get significantly worse. I just dropped that onto the lid. And the neck here, the dropper itself, can get clogged. This one obviously isn't, but I'm going to wipe it off anyway. Welcome in, Kohime darling, and thank you for the 2 months. I honestly didn't think it had been 2 months. Don't need much paint. I mean, you can see how much dark brown I have. So obviously I used too much there, or pulled a little too much there. But since Kohime is here and has subbed another pack of Kamigawa, let me just put a little drop of water on that. Not really necessary, but that'll help moisten that paint, thin it out a bit. And we've had Forest, and we've had Dual Land. Our token is a Dragon Spirit, 5/5 flying red. Looks like somebody's alt, or half of one. So our land... I'm gonna call Plains, again. Half right. Blossoming Sands. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life, and it's a green-white dual land. Very pretty. I love these Gardenscape ones. Got a Network Terminal artifact. Taps for 1 mana of any color, or tap another untapped artifact you control to draw and discard. So you got your data terminal. Focus, you fuck. The light's shifting a bit, the sun's going down, so it's going to be closer to what I normally work from, the light over here and then the light for the room. So the camera's being a bit of a fuss butt. But neat artwork. Shiba Trespassers, Moonfolk Ninja. Has channel, but is a ninja without ninjutsu. Channel, discard it, tap up to 2 target creatures you don't control. Those don't untap under their next untap step. And it's pretty pricey, but it's because it's 4 and a blue for a 3/5. But that channel effect of 3 and a blue is pretty impressive, will make a difference in combat. Moth Rider Patrol, a Fox Warrior. Linares, you know this guy. I'm sorry, that was racist, wasn't it? You're not even a fox person, you're just fox-colored fae. Or a shrubbery right now. But flying and tap target creature 1/1, just straight up Foxy Moth Rider. Basic white stuff. Oh, there we go. Somebody on turntables, and it's red, so the turntables are on fire. He's probably spinning a sick mix of Jet Generation by Guitar Wolf. You just know it. He? Oh yeah, he. Most likely. Whenever another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, the Song Shaper gets +1/+. Oh. Not bad. Gonna be putting out a lot of artifacts, so a creature that gets, you know, a slight boost off of it. But, $5 says here in 6 months we'll see this guy in, not Second Life, the one that matters. VR chat spinning a sweet, sweet set at some VR club, while everybody else is standing by the mirror. Kaito's Pursuit. Target player discards 2 cards. Ninjas and rogues you control gain menace until the end of your turn, so just straight up ninja heavy deck. Ninja go. Mess people up. And that'd be an interesting model, at least. It would be a good model, especially with, like, the robot arms. Consume the spirits. I do not recommend consuming spirits. You will reach an altered state of mind. But... sorry. I can't read. Commune with spirits. Be careful communing with spirits, too. They can also be dicks. Nice art, though. Paying respect to the tree. There we go. Suit up, just jumping into the back of the head of a giant robot. That's how I want to die. Attempting to pilot very poorly. Consume, commune, 50/1, half dozen of your mother. Till end of turn, target creature or vehicle becomes an artifact creature with a base power and toughness of 4/5. Draw a card. Yeah. Cool looking art. Just jumping into the pilot seat. Sky Swimmer Koi. A hologrammatic fish. I'm so glad I don't have the foil version of this. I'd be completely unable to see it. Flying, whenever artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So, more blue shit. Midweight flyer that causes draw. Inkrise Infiltrator, a ninja that is pumpable, flying, but doesn't have ninjutsu. And that art. It's okay, but like a lot of the black art, it's really dark, really hard to see. Another is Zeus's Many Journeys, with the likeness of the Seeker on the other side. Okiba Salvage. It's about returning a target vehicle from the graveyard. Big fuck off Sky Turtle. Well, okay, it's technically called a Colossal Sky Turtle, but we both know it means big fuck off Sky Turtle. 2 green, 1 blue, 4 colorless, 6/5, flying, ward 2, which I think ward is effects that target, or spells or effects that target this creature, cost 2 colorless more to cast, or something like that. Channel to return target card from your graveyard, or channel to return target creature to owner's hand. Pretty neat. And that was our uncommon. We got a Generous Visitor, a human-faced squirrel. That's fucking creepy. But what do you expect from spirits? They sometimes get really fucking weird. Whenever you cast an enchantment or spell, put +1/+1 counter on target creature. Standard green stuff. And very difficult to use katanas, because they've got a lizard resting on them, and you don't want to move the lizard, but you can't really grab the katana. So, yeah. It's rare, and it is a equipment lizard. Gets double strike. Enchanted creature has double strike. Reconfigurable for 2. Oh, reconfigurable means it's either equipment or a lizard. So you can swap it out. For a rare, the tactical flexibility of being able to change something from giving something double strike, which is a powerful effect, to a 1/1 with double strike, which, you know, in a pinch could be useful, but it just... Sweet art, though. 10 out of 10. Would let that lizard play with my swords. I have more than one. Let's face it. You guys knew this. Seems more uncommon, yeah. It's marked as a rare, though. So thank you, Kohime, for lizard swords. Let's see here. Another general rule of thumb when painting, which obviously I'm kind of ignoring a bit, is that you want to go from, like, the deepest and build up. It makes things easier. If you're less experienced or working on smaller, more detailed models, it can make a huge difference working from the lowest point up. So if I were to try and color his belt differently, I would have done his belt, then done his pants. His belt's further in. I am going to do his face and then his hair. And this just means that you're going to be having less issue with, or less likelihood of paint over on your model. Because you're not having to reach past sections you've already painted with a paintbrush to get to sections you have not painted. You just have to worry about not painting outside the lines. Which does get pretty easy after a while, says the guy who has a little bit of a splot on his butt there, but if I just tease out that line there for the finger and that for the thumb, now it looks like a mold line. It looks like a casting error, which And it's fine on the model with casting error, like right there. Where people say you want to keep your brush strokes going the same direction. I don't think that really matters on anything smaller than a tank. Like, that feels like holdover advice from people who paint model kits, tanks and the like. And it's less something you really need to worry about on something this small. So if you're seeing the brush strokes, then you've already fucked up. Oh. There's his thumb on this side. You can see with this thinner colored paint of the flesh tone, you can see more splotchiness. Well, I can see more splotchiness. That is why we do two thin coats, is we're going to even that out with the second coat. Sometimes with the light colors, you'll end up doing more than two. Now, thankfully, our boy has very little flesh tone on him, because he covers up properly so he doesn't get skin cancer from having never seen the sun. So you don't have to deal with a lot of light colors and the issues that that presents on Duo here. What I do have to worry about is his high collar. And when we do the hair, making sure we don't end up back over the flesh. Because that would suck. That would suck a lot. He's got an ear that's just barely noticeable. And he doesn't have, honestly, for the best pilot in Gundam Wing, not a very strong jaw. I think that's why nobody tried to copy his data, is that he doesn't have, like, the strong jawline of Wu Fei or Hiro Yui. He's also not a douchebag, which is why he's so badass. Let's let him dry. It's not going to take too long because acrylic paints, actually, one neat thing about them is that this one's separated a little bit, which is something you got to watch for with using a wet palette, is paint will start to separate because it doesn't dry. Now, in this case, it was just separating black and white primer. Just going over the spot of the dog's leg. What the dog leg? But, I was saying something. Well, anyway, Duo Maxwell's the best fucking character from that show, and I will fight anybody who says otherwise. Oh, right, yes. We've got to maintain the separation of church and paint. It's in the Constitution, after all. But yeah, paint will separate on a palette, on a wet palette. It does not do so elsewhere because it dries up before it separates, usually. You can see separation most with metallic paints because they are a colored base that matches the metal fleck, a metal fleck, usually a colored mica powder, and then your typical, usually a white base paint, and then water or gentle thinning medium. Because again, you don't need actual paint thinner. And they will separate just constantly. Oh, your leg is drying. I'm gonna go and refer to a little journal I've got. Casimo 2.0 here actually has a color palette I had worked on. Not saying it's a good one, but it's the one that I has. His left hand is going to be blue light. His right hand is obviously red for fire, and then it's going to thin out to black at the top for smoke. Green jacket, blue pants. The leather goods, like his belt and his pouches, are going to be black. Hair is orange with a gray streak, because even though he's really young for a gnome, he's only 54, 55, he's got gray already because he worries too much. And pale skin, because as a sniper, he doesn't see much sunlight. Actually, as a, dungeoneer, adventurer, he doesn't see much sunlight. So let's go ahead, and the deepest color is going to be probably the pants. Let's do the pants. Of all the blues, I think I'm going to go with, for a base coat, a medium blue. I'll take that, my lamp. You are, oh, ultramarine highlight. That's not quite. That's going to be a good highlight. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's drop the paint, trying to get it in the rack. And I can just stand up, which I need to do because my butt's falling asleep again. Blocking the light. Yep, I think standard ultramarine blue is going to be good. Smurf pants. I can actually... No, I did do both coats for the flesh. So now it's turning into an ultramarine as I understand the story anyhow. Not entirely wrong. Ow. But not entirely wrong. Though actually he's becoming more like a blood angel, if I'm honest. He's very rip and tear at this point. This is the one downside to my workshop, is that to give myself decent table space, I got a large table, and then also went and edged everything, put everything around a corner, around the back edge, so that I have the maximum amount of floor space, but also means that I have a hard time reaching my paints. It's not so bad when I don't have people watching or have a camera and microphone in the way. But just slurred onto the boot there, but that's fine. Boot's gonna be black anyway. It's leather, because who's not wearing durable leather boots with your pants tucked into your boots if you're an adventurer? I did not finish priming this guy, because underneath his legs, down in the dangles, there's a more mid to light colored material, which is about the color of the base, or the base color of the plastic. On the other hand, that also means that, so if it's not primed, the paint's not going to stick all that well there, which is not good. On the other hand, it's not that big of a deal because it's on the underside of the Mini, where unless you are handing it off to somebody to be scrutinized, nobody's going to see it. And as far as Mini's painting itself goes, like legitimately, you are not going to be looking at the Mini like this. You'll be looking at it like this while you're painting it. You'll show it to somebody and they'll be like this, or it's right up on them. But really, it's going to be more like that. From the front, 3 feet away. You're not going to notice the small details. You're not going to notice the slurred paint in general. You're not going to notice inconsistencies in general. You're not going to notice where the paint on the underside of the Mini isn't quite stuck right, so it blotched up a little bit. You're just not going to see that at all. Now, one thing with the inside-out method for painting, so paint the furthest away first, or the deepest parts of the Mini first on this guy, is that his leather's all going to be black, and some of it's down low, like the belt. So I'm going to do those last in general because they're black. They will cover up everything else. Green jacket. Let's do a darker green. Bonk. Like this Christmas wreath from Reaper's Christmas Paints. I don't know if we'll get much past blocking the paints out. Come back here, Duo. Because painting is a slow process. Like, a fast run on a Mini is a very simple 2 to 3 color scheme pattern. So like your main color for armor, your detail color for armor, and then your weapon or something like that, skin tone. Like 10-20 minutes a Mini. Honestly, closer to 30. Like, I've seen people do speed painting and it's, 5-10 minutes, but that's also somebody who focuses on that, and that is what their skill is in. And one of the things they're doing is they are specifically picking very simple color palettes. Simo is not simple. He's got red, light blue, dark blue, flesh tone, metal, probably another metal, orange, light gray, black, and then whatever the ground is. And I'm going to try to do some object source lighting, so the blue is producing light because it's magic, the red is producing light because it's flame. That's a spell where it's making the blaster fire-based attack, or giving it fire damage. So those are producing light, so they will tint materials nearby. I'm not sure if I'll succeed at that. In fact, the reason why I ended up stripping him the first time was because I did not at all succeed. I did quite the opposite. But we shall make an attempt. At this point, as much as I love the model, I want to see it finished first, instead of using it to show off some skills I obviously need to work on. See, right there. Not sure if you're seeing that, but the paint is only to about here on the tip. And then generally keep the brush angled down so it doesn't backflow into the ferrule. Like, this model very much went from being get it perfect to get it done. And the difference was when the character literally stopped carrying this shit. He gave his pistol to the chief douchebag on his airship, because the captain's gonna need somebody who's a bit of a prick and has the capacity to get shit done. Bonesy is quite capable of doing that, and isn't the type to have a level of ambition on his own, but easily suckered into believing he can. So, even though he could make a play for captaincy, especially with a laser blaster that can cast Disintegrate, and just straight up make the captain disappear, you'd have to be goaded into that, and in doing so expose himself. And the first bait is 100% the career lieutenant. They do not give a fuck about command. They will offer their opinion, they'll offer their advice and their experience, but they see what the ship captain has to deal with, and they nope right out of that. So they have all the competence, but none of the ambition. And they also know Bonesy is a dick, so they will be keeping an eye on him, and if he tries to make a play, they back the captain. It's actually she. I believe her name was Katarina and was listed as the girl, which was... Normally I have not too much concern about who's on the ship in general, but it's a bit of a reference joke to another game where we spent an entire session staffing a ship we got, and only one female crewman showed up, mostly because we told the DM we were kind of looking for a bit of a mix, or we weren't concerned about gender, so we had the token girl. So moving forward with people who were in that game, the token girl existed for anything that needed to be crewed. That being said, like I said, Katarina is also the most competent and capable person there, but just doesn't want to be captain because being captain's a pain in the ass. And the captain relies on her enough to make sure she's well paid, has good benefits, so she has no reason to move against the captain. But she also knows the value of Bonesy as the dirty guy, the cleaner, the guy who takes care of problems, and also the best pistol marksman. So if the captain tries to make a move against Bonesy, unless it is something very obviously justified, she's going to step in there and defuse it. Meanwhile, she would never make a play for power, but if she did, she would have to do so by either fooling the captain, Cicero, or convincing Cicero, or fooling Bonesy. She has the capacity to fool Bonesy. He thinks he's more badass than he is. But if Cicero sees that happening, he's going to remind Bonesy of where his place is, and keep him stocked with opportunities to commit violence upon people, or just be an asshole. Keep Bonesy happy, you don't have to worry about Katarina. Keep Katarina happy, you don't have to worry about Bonesy. They keep on each other's good sides. Captain stays where he is. Neither of them has to worry about answering to the other. Power plays. Politics. The shit my character never cared about. He was big about family. And he saw the crew as his family. But he's also not so stupid as to believe that they are actually going to behave when he's not there. Like, flat out. Someone's gonna try and start shit. They are all ostensibly bandits, pirates, former cultists, mercenaries, people who've from all walks of life, usually the kinds that ended up on the wanted list somewhere, or end up going against a sky captain and his merchant ship, only to find out that the captain's a sniper and his crew's made of a bunch of, like, pirates and mercenaries and shit. But thankfully the captain is good-hearted and believes in second chances. Exactly one. So if you want to get out of the life, you want to retire, and you happen to cross Captain Simo Qualish and the Harvest Equinox, and his merry band of Harvest Reapers, as they are known, you got one chance. Don't fuck it up. Because if you betray him, if you make him feel as though he was too generous, he will erase you. Better take a sleep. A pleasure as always. I do enjoy RPG stories. Thank you. I enjoy talking about some of these because they're really... I mean, this game has been going on for 5 years. It's the one I'm playing tomorrow. But I enjoy talking, as you can obviously tell. But you consume sleep, darling. Consume rest. Thank you, as always, for coming by and for being the absolute treasure that you are, Fox. You are a complete and total wonderful being. Nothing but love. Consume rest. Darling. And don't throw your paint bottles at your screen of your Chromebook. That's another tip for painting. Don't do that thing. Going to pour a little bit more brown because I want to make the doggo brown. I've got some brown hair to take care of on Duo. I always say try to, when giving tips, like angle a brush and such, because you're gonna fuck it up. Everybody does. Never think you need to buy the $20-some Winsor & Newton Series 7 #1 round brush to be good at painting. It's a good brush. I swear by it. I have 2 of them. But if you go and you buy that starting out, before you really get the control on camera, jackass, the control of your brush and your motions down pat, you're gonna fuck up that Series 7. And you're gonna feel bad about it. So I always say start out with something affordable and easy to replace. I kind of feel that way with anything else you're trying as a hobby. Anything you want to pick up. I am jamming my elbow into files, and that's bad. Because you don't know if you want to do this full as a big hobby like I do. I mean, I like to run paint nights, or did before the world ended, to give people that chance. But you might just paint the mini you're playing with right now and call it good. You know, maybe you liked it, but it's not really your thing. Maybe you actually hated it, but you've got a painted mini and that's what matters. If so, congratulations, you did not spend $20 on paintbrush that's going to sit there and do nothing. Okay, let you dry, Duo. Need to remember to go back on his flesh. That jacket. I think that's a armor plate there, so let's... go right like that. Plus, if you wait until you've got the good shit, you wait until you have a Series 7 Winsor & Newton, until you have 30, 40, 50 colors of Reaper MSP paint, till you have a nice paint cup, till you have, you know, all the recommended high-end shit, you're just wasting time that you could spend actually doing the thing and seeing if you enjoy it. You will likely outgrow cheap acrylic brushes. Some people don't. Some people actually use them to do Golden Demon grade, like, award-winning paint jobs. But so long as the paintbrush itself is not causing you failure, as long as it's not hampering your capabilities, it's fine to stick with it. And when you feel like you need to level up, if you feel like you want something that maintains its tip better, that has better control, it's a little more durable, doesn't require boiling every now and then just to keep the tip right, then go out and buy yourself a decent brush. But you will know if you do the thing enough whether the product you're using, whether the tools you're using, are hampering you or not. You will know from the feel. You will know from your experience with it. Something you won't pick up if you don't do the thing. If you wait until you can afford the nice stuff. Especially if affording something is difficult for you. Not everybody has a good paying job like I do. And some of us who do, like myself, kinda wish we could go back to simpler times because the job is extremely shitty and stressful. But also recognize they kinda can't. Because they're an adult. with a mortgage. What was I saying? It's probably saying something not depressing. Actually, no, it's me. I was probably just taking a double shot of Depresso Espresso. Either way, I think brown was a good call for the dog. And this stuff stayed put really well. Let it dry to see how it goes, but I think that's going to be an easy one to get a second coat on. Let's actually switch, because I said that I have 2 Winsor & Newton Series 7s, and I do. So what I'm going to do is show y'all how to clean your brush. I recommend brush soap. This is the Masters. It's the high quality stuff. You don't need to go with it, but it's also not that expensive. And with it, you just, you scrub out whatever paint you can. I've got a little rubber pad at the bottom of my cup that's textured, and then I've got these grooves. Then you just get a little spot wet and twist. Just twist. Just roll your brush across it. If you think you got some in the ferrule and you want to risk it, you can, like, kind of, don't do full flat, but kind of get it up there like that, so it's a more direct angle, so it's working in there. And just back and forth, back and forth. Get a good lather on there and just massage that in. Is this a pain in the butt? Absolutely. Is it worth it to maintain the longevity of your brush? Depends on how much you paid for it. I don't want to buy another Winsor & Newton Series 7 #1 round anytime soon. I have 2 of them, so I can do 2 brush blending, which is something I never learned to do. And then you want to just, after you think you got it, after it feels good, get some more soap on there, roll it between your fingertips, just to build the tip there. And then this thing. Do not throw out your plastic covers. Oh my god, do not throw these things out. They're so freaking vital. And my paintbrushes are attached to the wall and hang upside down. Because I'm a fancy bitch like that and have my own wall I can put holes into. This is not my Winsor & Newton. That is not my Winsor & Newton at all. My other Winsor & Newton. Oh, get back up there, you bastard. Come on, stop doing this. Come on, you're embarrassing me in front of the internet! There we go. I also got a marked gold on this one, silver on the other one, so that I know which one I just put up. Ree! Ree! Get the brush a little wet, and because I put it up just like I did the other one, there's a little bit of dried soap on there, which is fine. But if you get the brush wet, it takes that off of there. Now we got a nice fresh brush with a nice fresh point to it. None of this is lighting right. My light sources are a little mixed and terrible. And I can just go right back and do the second layer of Hero's Duo's Flesh. I'm sorry, Mr. God of Death, I insulted you by calling you the emo kid on the team. Well, actually, one of 2. Tro was pretty goddamn emo too. Turbo lurking while putting together a crazy rolling setup. I am curious how that turns out. I like rolling setups. I like clever options for maneuverability and storage. As somebody who has jack shit for space. They're all the emo kid. Duo Maxwell was not that emo. He was the sparkle goth of the club. He would absolutely wreck somebody, get super pissed, and come at them with the passion of a hellfire preacher like he dresses, and then turn around and be all like, hey, what's up? Because he ain't directing that hate at the person who's approaching. That person's a friendo. Plus, I think he was the only one to get a girlfriend? Or boyfriend? Well, we don't know about Katra. He had a lot of manservants, but not sure if that counts. Having a fun time of this, because I've got to keep my hands out of the way and try to present good light for you guys to see, while also being able to see and keep my brush at an angle where I'm not getting paint washing back into it. Duo's your fave? That, darling, is because you have excellent taste. Got a little bit of flesh on his jacket. Not too worried about that, because it is where we are going to put a highlight, so we can cover it during the highlighting. Now, flesh tones, or Caucasian flesh tones, bother me because they're oftentimes they don't come out right. They're tricky to apply without them being splotchy. Actually, we got the brown right here as jacket dark brown. So let's just loop that and then clean up along the neck. And there is something to be said about chasing cleanup, because it'll get to where if you have a certain level of perfectionism you must have, and you're not, say, a professional minis painter who goes to tournaments, you just feel like you need this level of detailing, you are going to be getting a tiny little bit of paint on an area, cursing the gods, going back, undoing it, putting a tiny little bit of paint on the area next to it that got paint on it the first time, cursing the gods, and washing, rinsing, and repeating for hours until you get just the right, and then you'll sneeze. So if a little paint slurs, a little paint slurs. It's something you can oftentimes clean up in detailing. It's not something that's going to be seen. I mean, if I wanted to be picky about detailing, this model itself is not properly on fucking camera, but has a lot of rough cuts and filings to it from being modified. Those could use cleanup. But they're also not gonna be seen. One of those I should have known I wasn't as straight as I thought moments was when I really liked Gundam Wing way more than everybody else I knew. And don't get me wrong, everybody liked Gundam Wing, but like, I really liked Duo. What can I say? Repression is a bitch. My brother was rewatching Record of Lodoss War the other month, I suppose it was now. Time is meaningless. And it was the original series. And the only two things I could remember were the very opening fight, or not the very opening, but the flashback fight to Parn's awakening as a hero, rescuing his village after, you know, getting a lot of people in his village killed by violating a truce they had with the goblins of the forest and such. So that whole kind of, like, heroic awakening thing. And that King Cashew, his entire face sort of stuck in my mind. And I really should have known I was not straight. Because the two things I remembered were the first narratively important and detailed part of the storyline, and God, King Cashew's hot. He could give me Bofa. Just making sure I've got green in all the places where there should be green. Doesn't have to be fantastic, so long as I can see it's there. And I think that's actually... I got a picture, of course, when they're done. But I think that's a good color palette. He's got kind of... The pants being ultramarine blue are going to come out looking a bit like jeans, but, I mean, that's also fine. Their denim pants are hard wearing, and he's got all sorts of shit from the future. Could have very easily stolen some pants. Now you're Googling King Cashew. Do it. I think it's a big part of it's the beard. I'm not normally a thing for beards, but his is well maintained. Oh, I did also remember Tiamat was in the... Well, not Tiamat. Oh, yeah. Spelled wrong. Kashue. King Cashew brings up an entirely different image. Nuts! But, legally distinct from Tiamat is in the opening video, the OP. At the very end, like, the party's assembled for the ending shot of the OP, and then Tiamat rises, like, head by head behind him with green dragon head having these just unnecessary fucking wings on it for no reason. And, I don't think they ever actually fight Tiamat or any sort of multi-headed dragon. There are dragons, because Lodoss War was literally based on a serialized D&D game in a magazine in Japan. I just slurred onto his forehead something fierce. I did the thing I didn't want to do. Serialized game that also brought us the manga and anime for Rune Soldier Louis, which was based in the same universe, but where Lodoss was the accursed island, Rune Soldier Louis happened on the mainland in the north. That's the wrong brown. Another good thing about using acrylics So if you fuck up like I just did, you just get your brush loaded with water. Not too loaded, but loaded. Just run it across the area to get that shit out of the way. Mr. Peanut's off-brand royalty cousin. Yes. So, we'll not be doing his hair now. We will be browning the dog again. And what I'm not going to do, honestly, since I don't want to pour another drop of the brown, so I'm not 100% sure what color of brown I grabbed, I could just leave the bottles out. I'm not going to do the undercarriage on the dog, because it's not going to be seen. I don't know, Doppel, what's your opinion on King Kashu? King Kashwe. No judgments. No wrong answers. Because we all have different opinions about what is attractive and what isn't. For example, some people think Willem Dafoe does not look like a gremlin. Or, that's something they're very much into. Oh, your opinion on King Kashu? See, now you have to Google him. There. Doggo is double painted. And let's dive back into the hair. Let's undo the fuck up. Head is dry. He's got that brooding dark energy and a fan of the face scruff. Yeah, he is the good guy king who gives the heroes important tasks and also leads his forces in battle. He is not a politician by any means. But he's definitely got that look like he could turn coat. And you would be like, yeah, no, I don't know why we didn't expect that from him. But when he doesn't, you're just all like, what a bro. And yes, well-kept, neat facial hair. There we go. A little bit quick on the brown on both of those, but didn't want to fuck up again. Let's see here. Simo, let's get the light blue in for his magic. Let's go over here. Come on. Make this easy. Make this easy. That's what you're supposed to do. Need to build some paint retrieving robot or something. Spectral Glow. I think this is one of the brand new ones. Suppose there's one way to check. Oh yeah, tip's way too clean for it to have been one from my one I didn't just get in. Also, sorry about that. I always feel awkward calling somebody out like that. But it seemed like a natural continuance of the conversation. Plus, he done fucked up and responded in chat instead of lurking. So that makes you a fair game. Mwahaha. There we go. Got to pet a cat, but was still nearby. Fair enough. I understand the requirements of paying proper tribute. I mean, I ignore his needy ass, but I understand it. He's currently sitting across from me, sulking. Now if I move the camera, he's gonna run. I think he's come to realize he's on when he's on camera. Also, hi, Alter and Doppel's cats. Welcome to the PNW. There will be many, many birds for you to yell at from the windowsills. Also, many, many squirrels. And a hopeless amount of leaves. This is where it gets tricky and artistic, because it's a big spiral of energy. So, what do I make energy and what do I make smoke? And the easiest way to do this is make it all energy for now up to a point, and then go back through and pick out individual lines with gray. But that will be future Fluffy's issue, and future Fluffy is going to have a field day with that while also cursing out past Fluffy for letting him be so creative. Thinking just right above his head. Yeah, right about there. And we'll backfill with some dark gray on lines. Got that sort of colored arch almost done. Need to get some more black in the red for smoke, mostly up here. And then get some black and dark gray into the blue there. But it just wraps around his hand, it shines through his fingers. There's a little lick of flame, blue flame on the cuff, or on his wrist. His flesh cuff, if you will. Second coat will make that look really good. Crack my neck, because it's getting stiff. And then let's go and grab us a mid-orange. Sunrise orange. One thing that actually helps with these bottles is that you can get little, I think you buy, they're listed for nail polish, but shaker beads. They're just little steel beads. Get the steel ones, stainless steel ones, so they won't rust or won't affect the chemical composition. But also so that you could, if you wanted to, oscillate a magnetic field across your bottle to shake it. Don't know how well that works or how much of a pain in the ass it is, but theoretically, it sounds pretty badass. A little bottle, or a little bead in the bottle, creates a disruption in the flow of the paint inside, causing it to mix up, like blades in a blender. What I should do is I should also get a pic of Simo 1.0 to show you guys him. Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to hit this orange with a red wash to darken it down, or let it get taken over by the color from the blue and red. It's about the right orange for his hair originally, but Simo 1.0 was also a bit clown colored. Not badly so, but there's a pirate hunter posing as a merchant, an adventurer posing as a pirate hunter. From the north, originally from the streets of Neverwinter, he was adopted by a family that took the name of Qualish gnomes for business purposes because they were artificers. So it's one of those things where if you can claim the name of the guy who made the lobster tank, that's pretty cool. Like, that's good business. It's like going into making guns and having the last name of Springfield. You're not saying you're related to the Springfield to Springfield Ordinance, which I think is named after a location, or having the name Colt. You're not saying you're part of the Colt company or the Colt family, but you're named Colt and you're making guns with your name involved. It makes diff. It looks good. I've got a pillow on this stool, but it is still really goddamn uncomfortable. It's doing its job. It was meant to keep me from sitting here all damn day in my workshop working on things. So I would get up, so I would use my VR, so I would exercise, so I would go back to my computer, so I would go to sleep. Guess who has two thumbs and has stayed up all night to greet the sun because he was busy painting minis? This Yagua. Let's see here. Hero is... Hero. I keep saying Hero. Duo is all blocked. He's actually pretty standard colors. He's black clothes, all of it, except for the white collar. I think he did have the white priest collar. Pink skin, brown hair. I mean, even his boots were black. Go through, touch up some buttons. Maybe the little stripes on his jacket. pull up an image of him, but that's honestly more detailing work. Let's get some silver on this puppy. Let's go with... Oh, actually, So another life hack is if the paint, if you have a base coat of a flat color that matches the metallic that you're using, it makes it to where you have to A, use less metallic and to get the metallic effect, or to get the proper effect and color, and B, it makes it to where you can use something like the Mecha line by Vallejo. The Mecha line is all designed for airbrush. It's thin, which means you can use it in airbrush without thinning it, or without having to thin it a lot. No adaptation, but it also means that it runs on a brush really damn well. Because the paints that will show streaking the most are gonna be your metallics. Because they've got little mica flecks that show you where, just point right to the direction that your brush went. Let's go ahead and just get these buttons on his pants. Belt buckle. He doesn't really have any more metal on him. Whew. When you hold your breath to paint. Now, the easy part. Let's just get all of this gray with some airbrush grade silver. Poke my mouse so that my chat window does not fall asleep. I'm on screen. I should cut some instructional YouTube videos. Either take video from the VOD as B-roll and narrate over it, or just do fresh. I think this is supposed to actually be cloth in the middle here, but that doesn't make sense to me. This isn't specifically a writing doggo, though it certainly can be. So that's gonna be metal. That's just some folded metal over the sides to protect his his belly, his sides. Today I'm gonna vacuum things. Me, 5 hours later. Why is this duct taped shut? Oof. Sorry for the loss of time there, buddy. I was gonna say I have a robot vacuum cleaner, but you actually, A, you know that. And B, if I recall correctly, you guys tried it and didn't work well for your situation. Got this little chesto plate here. It might be a ring harness. Admittedly, the lack of detail on this guy is a bit... The lack of the detailing on this guy does make it a bit challenging. Because it's not the most detailed model I have by any means. It's budget grade. Probably could have gotten it a little better, but it looks good enough, and multiple feet away, it's going to be perfectly fine. And the great thing is, because that silver had such smooth coverage, I don't have to do a second coat. It's fine. Silver up Simo's gun and his metal accoutrements. I think the sword's gonna remain... back when he used a sword like a damn chump. He's got this chain here, which technically he carried. I didn't have to represent it on the model. However, it was already on the House Goliath sword pack anyway. So let's get that in a nice silver. Let's see here. Silver metal clasp there. His belt actually wraps around, so that's fine. Silver the gun. Now we'll do some brassier highlights and details. So now that I think about it, these were actually good minis to try and do at the same time, because it shows basically 3 levels of detail you want. Like, you've got the low detail model that you want to get right, which is Duo. So you're putting some effort into it, but you don't have a lot to work with, so not a lot can go wrong either. Got the low to mid detail model that you don't have to care about. You just want to get paint on and call it good. The Doggo. And then you've got the significantly higher detail model. Actually, let's do the crossguard in silver. That you built yourself. That you want to get right. And you want to fill with detail and design. Like, if this were just a mook, just a grunt, I wouldn't worry about going through and detailing, like, the pommel. I wouldn't be thinking about what color would complement the crossguard for this little bit in the middle. Doing the line work on this in brass or what for this cartridge. Colors for his mask. I wouldn't be dealing with any of that fuckery. But it's Simo. One day I'll remember your UPS has a bad battery and not plug in anything that has a heavy draw. Blow your PSU again? Or UPS? What can Brown take out for you today? Okay. I'm gonna take a moment to stand up and walk a bit. Oh, my goodness. Because my right knee and hip are still doing hella bad. I think grinding them into the manual crank on a short person's car window probably exacerbated things. But there's no real leg room in a small car. Unless you're the driver. You need to buy UPS that can handle your desktop. Comp crashed when it abruptly lost all power. Oof. But, goddamn. It feels nice to be back in the workshop and painting again. I'm gonna grab a plusher pillow. Y'all watch paint dry. See it? Let me know how it goes. I want to report. 5 pages. There we go. Now to maneuver, because I still don't have a lot of space here. Not knocking the pillow I just grabbed off. There we go. Yeah, I guess you're replacing the UPS. I mean, if it still functions, it still functions. I would actually suggest unplugging things and pulling the battery. Most UPSs have a battery that can be replaced. Generally speaking, it's one you can get at a Home Depot or, well, not a Home Depot, but an Ace. Friendly neighborhood hardware store, not a place professionals go for 40 different types of caulk.
Koyami Nakamura has gifted 2 subs to viewers.
Thank you, Kohime, darling, for the gift subs. Thank you for the gift sub to Dear Judy, an absolute wonderful treasure of an artist. People should go follow and watch. She mostly plays Phasma with the girls, but I believe she's going to start doing art streams. And Blue Hair Edda, the second best blue-haired fox I know. The best fox spirit I know, though. So enjoy those emotes. I promise to get more. I've got some on commission from Enya Fairy, so those are going to be cool and when they come in. Of course, she's really damn busy, so it'll be a bit, but that's okay. I'll find other artists to take over other emotes anyway. First pack, our token is a treasure. Just a bunch of gold coins and broken glass. Nice. Our land. I have not called Swamp yet. It's Jungle Hollow. Half right. It's a dual land, gain 1 life when it comes in, and it's black and green. Also like how it's a Jungle Hollow, but it's got like the big neon gate. Even the jungle's been gentrified. Got ourselves another network terminal. Futurist Sentinel, which is a mecha. It's just a 6/6 with a crewing of 3, but it's pretty cool. Wanderer's Intervention. I mean, after... Damn, I can't remember her name. I was gonna make a Wander Over Yonder joke, but now I can't think of the character. Well, Wanderer's Intervention. Nice slashy bit. Deals 4 damage to attacking or blocking creature. Just random guy comes in and stabs shit. Unstoppable Ogre. When it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. It's a 4/1. Classic red. Attack, no defense. Debt to the Kami. Don't owe them ghost Yakuzas. Oh, that reminds me. I have decided that... Thank you, Alter. I know... Wander his friend slash writing companion. I can't remember her name. But I am, the next game I'm going to be campaigning is actually not going to be BattleTech. I had said BattleTech before, but over the weekend I went and had some hella good sushi in Bellevue with a couple of friends of mine, and one of them found out I had never played the Yakuza series. And Yakuza 0 is $20 on Steam, so they threw that at me, so Sylvia, right. Okay. Man, Wander kind of went hardcore after Sylvia got killed. Crushed by a robot. Now seeks vengeance against all mecha. There we go. That's a happened. It's probably Yonder. This Wander is over her. Yeah. Show is cancelled because Lord Hater was too sexy. I mean... yeah. Well, it also got a little bit mixed ratings, and at that point, there was still pushback on quote-unquote progressive shows. Lord Dominator, yeah. Not Lord Hater, Lord Dominator. The competent bad guy. Who wore gym socks underneath her black roby dress. It's about the same time that we ended up losing Dan Versus and Shizao, which is a shame because Shizao was really good, but it was definitely too early for that shit. Let's see here. Master's Rebuke. When your parry rating is Platypus. The Seven-Tailed Mentor. A Fox Samurai. Wake the Fox Up, Samurai. Enters the battlefield or dies. +1/+1 counter on creature or vehicle you control. Pretty straightforward. Buffs. Alt card, Aki Ronin. Goblin Samurai. The goblins of Kamigawa are pretty scraggly. The Long Reach of Night. The Sagas thing is pretty cool. Also, not sure if you guys are able to see that correctly, but that is fucking terrifying. And that is a boss fight from what, Castlevania game? Or a Junji Ito type. And there it is. You get to use the damn thing. When it attacks, it gets +X/+O until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in defending player's graveyard. Holy shit. Yeah, that's pretty fucking dope. I just got a note to welcome myself into my chat room. So, did anything get said after... You know, I'm gonna go look at the chat on... Because I got you guys up over there. Got OBS over there. I don't know if I missed something. Nope. Nope. Thankfully did not miss anything. It's good. It's good. And just decided to cycle my ass in chat for no reason, and it did it again. Got the Gloom Shrieker, a cat beast. What my cat thinks it is at 2 in the fucking morning. Actually, my brother's cat, really. It's got Menace, so it can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. When it enters the battlefield, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. When Gloom Shrieker would die, exile it instead. Spinning wheel kick. Kicked him wheel good. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to X number of creatures and or planeswalkers. So just a series of unending spin kicks. I like that, I'm not gonna lie. Thirst for Knowledge's new art card, because they gotta get some reprints in there. Toad Riding Ninja. Tatsunari, the Toad Rider. Legendary creature, human ninja. It's a big fucking toad. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kami, create Kami, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog token with whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. For a green or blue and a colorless, the Toad Rider and target frog you control can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with flying or reach. That's a good combo right there. I could see why that ninja's pretty legendary. And then, oh, we got a Mythic Saga. Oh, and it's a foil mythic too, so it's rarer, it's worth more, and it's really fucking hard to put on camera. Jugen defends the temple. First stage, create a 1/1 human green monk with tap to add 1 green mana. Second stage, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Third, exile and return to battlefield flipped, and it is Remnant of the Rising Star. But not a Fist of a North Star. It's a 2/2 Dragon Spirit, flying. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay X. When you do, put X +1/+1 counters on that creature. As long as you control 5 or more modified creatures, Remnant of the Rising Star gets +5/+5 and trample. Holy shit. Alright, that's pretty good. That might be going on eBay. Well, I'll probably be selling a lot of my mythics and rares. I'll be honest, I'm just not doing anything with the cards. And pack number 2, this one is for Dear Judy. So Blue Hair Edda got me a sweet-ass Leaf Dragon monster. Another terminal. Oh wait, our token is a spirit. And I'm gonna say Forest. Rugged Highlands, half right. Pretty standard card. It's gain 1 life when it enters play, it comes in tapped, and it's a red-green dual land. Got the Ninja's Kunai. Sacrifice, deal 3 damage to any target creature. Not bad, not bad. Another Futurist Sentinel. There's a closer look at the guy. The Futurists are a specific faction in this. Another Wander's Intervention. Vengeance for Sylvia. Another Unstoppable Ogre. Another Debt of the Kami. The fuck is this? Master's Rebuke. This is just the last pack. Half of this is just the last goddamn pack. Jukai Preserver. That one's new to this pack, but one we've gotten before. Let's see here. Peerless Samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, the next spell you cast costs 1 less. That's kind of cool. Tales of Master Sashiro, which turns into his living legacy as Sneck Warrior with Vigilance and Haste. The Mecha Ronin, Reinforced Ronin. I like how I try to pronounce samurai correctly, but not Ronin. Whatever. Replication Specialist. Looks kind of cool. Some Moonfolk. Artificer, 3/4 flying. When a non-token artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 and a blue. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that artifact. So that's pretty fucking powerful right there. Patchwork Automaton. A pots and pans robot. Looks very pots and pans. And then the rare is Invoke Justice. Samurai and fire, very, very dramatic. 4 white and 1 other. Return target permanent card from the graveyard to the battlefield. Then distribute 4+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles target player controls. Damn. That's a rare card. That's a good one. So thank you for bringing me Justice, dear Judy, and of course, Kohime. Where were we? I believe I was doing round 2 of the orange hair and the blue magic. Because the orange is not going to layer well. It's got the same issues that the flesh does. It is not a particularly strong color on its own. So I'm going to have to do a lot of highlight work to kind of cover up the fact that this is a brighter orange going over black. That's just one of those things you will learn as you fiddle with your paints. Oh, this is neat. The forum software auto-saves draft. Now back to writing. Enjoy your writing, darling. I don't know what that number is, but it's too low. 20. That is too low. That is rookie, darlings. Yeah, I might do a 3rd layer on the hair. Hate doing so, but depends on how this one comes out. It's just orange, yellow, and skin tones. All, well, Caucasian skin tones are all very blotchy. It's hard to get colors that light and vibrant that don't mess up in thin layers. And what I'm doing here, where I'm resting my finger on the miniature, is something you should actually, generally speaking, avoid, because you run the risk of rubbing paint off of the mini. Which is why it's on these caps to begin with. When I have those bottles filled with cement for a handle. But sometimes it's the only way to get a real stable perch while painting. I think I'll use this Duo's Clothes black to do, or dark brown to do the leather on the doggo. It'll blend in with his fur, but not badly. It'll still stick out. It's a good color for leather. And it's already out, so why not? So I was uploading VODs the other day, and I found another reason to hate 5-minute craps. They copyright claimed to monetize all the videos that had their video in them. Audio was off, but their video is still running, So they copyright claimed him. Also, a reason to be annoyed with Amazon Music is that when I told it to play just stream beats, because they do not hit you with royalties, it said, oh yeah, here's something that sounds like stream beats. It's in that mix. So I've got a couple videos with like 5 minutes in the middle of nowhere just muted. It's all VODs, it's all backup stuff, so, you know, if somebody wants to sit there and compulsively watch a bunch of Astroneer, they're gonna go, hey, this spot's weird. But that's also why Indestructible's no longer on the soundboard. Because, yeah, surprise. Jiggle mouse. And let's do a little bit of cleanup here because I missed the pause on this old boy. So get a little bit of brown on that. And if the paws look a little blotchy at the end, that's not a huge deal. I mean, their very construction makes them a little blotchy because of the way they printed. Comes down to what you are willing to tolerate as far as quality. Anybody who says never settle for anything but perfection has never worked on a 3D printed model. Or an entire goddamn army. I think that is a ring, so let's go ahead and get some brown fur in there. Yeah, make that a ring instead of a... Not sure that's going to show. There we go. A ring instead of a plate over his chest. So it definitely looks more like a ring. But, now that his belts have been browned, I can take some of this silver, give it a bit of a mix-up, because it is thinned, so it is going to separate, and just pick out these buckles to the straps. They're small details, and they're a little bit blurry, but they're there. And for old Doggo, as far as blocking out, I think I'm gonna do his eyes, maybe? Otherwise, give him a wash, give him a highlight. Call him good. Good boy. Duo. Let's take care of that collar while we're thinking about you, buddy. Because you do inexplicably have a priest's collar. Bleached linen's a bit too flesh-like. So let's go into the pretty goddamn whites. It's peppermint white. That's not going to be good. Let's just go to pure white. I'm not going to be highlighting and darkening the collar because it's a very small section, so there's no reason not to just go with exactly what it's supposed to be. Just a little drop of the whites. And then, because that's mostly... It's pretty thick stuff that was at the end of the tip of the bottle for a bit. Let's thin it a bit. Again, on a wet palette it would thin on its own, but with it sticking up the way it was actually more likely to dry there. Just got a little white paint. There we go. Will it focus? That right there. If it'll focus, you fuck. That's about the amount of paint you want on your brush in general. Not too much. Tip bent a bit, so... There we go, made his priest collar nice and square. A detail that wasn't on there, but I know he had it. For some fucked up reason. You know what, we've got this blue out, we might as well use a bit more of it. The handle to Simo's pistol is not colored. Neither is the handle to his sword, his short sword, so we'll just go ahead and make those blue. Why? Because we can. Adds a little bit more dark blue into the mix. And slipped. Can't wait to see what I have to fix for that. I think I managed to miss anything vital, so that's good. But not a whole lot, just a little bit. Just a little bit more blue, a little bit more color. Do the band to the Goggles of the Night, which, by the way, if you have a character with dark... Well, actually, just if you have a character, get Goggles of the Night. It's one of the handiest damn magic items you can pick up. Because on a character without dark vision, you have dark vision. On a character that has dark vision, you have 60 more feet of dark vision. It's just so damn useful. Whew, there we go. And because those are smaller details, I don't need to do 2 coats because the color stuck well. Do need to get a little bit more of the pommel here though, because there's some black exposed to the primer. So there. This is where we get into the fiddly bits. That is the reason why I love painting minis, and also the reason why I'll stay up until dawn or further painting minis. And back of the handle is now steel. And the steel just blurred into that blue, as it flows really easily, being thinned for airbrushes. So let's try to take a little bit of that out, and then screw it, just go right back over that. So one thing you gotta watch out for when using paints that are thinned for airbrushes. Need to touch up the red on the red flame. I think the red flame only got one coat. But I can reach in and do the buttons on his jacket. And then there's a little split in the flames here on the body of the pistol. That could be either color. I'm choosing to make it and this little split here silver, because that gives more detailing. It blurs the material less. There we go. And I'm not sure if you can even see the tiny little reflective specks on his jacket. But he's got buttons. Yeah, I don't think we're going to finish blocking Simo tonight. I got this white out for the collar on everybody's favorite god of death, so let's get the doggo's eyes. Just little specks. Ooh, that's gonna need some cleanup. But they're there. He's a little bit wall-eyed. And then fine point, don't breathe. This model was not built at all for this level of detailing. Let's clean up around to the belt buckle. Just a little bit of slurring and a little bit by the collar. Not much. There we go. I honestly think Duo's done. And, well, I've got white out. Simo's mouth is open defiantly, going rawr, so let's get... What I'll do is just fill it with white for now. And I'll put some peach back in there. Some peach or some brighter red. That way his teeth will show up as the edge. And then the rest of his mouth will be red. With a fine enough point, that'll work. Let's go ahead and... Oh, we still got plenty of this brown left. Let's use this as the base for the leather black on Simo. So let's get his boots. Simo was always written as a tragic character. I like tragic characters myself. He was an orphan, grew up on the streets of a broken city. Neverwinter was devastated by the spell plague. Never knew his parents, but got replacement parents who found him and picked him up. He was in some issues with local street toughs, so they decided a broken city was no place to raise a young boy and moved out to the country, where they set up a workshop. You know, artificers. They still did work for the towards the restoration of Neverwinter, as, you know, all the artificers and builders and such did, but they telecommuted. Wagon shipments and so forth, you know? And he played in a village closer to the Luskan border. Middle of a forest, it's a mountain foresty village. He got in with a couple of local kids. It's a human village, though, so as the local kids grew, they stopped being, you know, little tiny Simo's size, being little kids, and started being teenagers. And the only one who didn't treat him differently for that was Ludmilla, his first crush. They spent a lot of time playing in the forest together. Hunting, And when the time came and the local barbarian tribesmen sort of came by for their, a little bit formalized at that point, raid, they come in, steal supplies, attack, nobody gets badly hurt. So long as there are supplies enough for everybody, it was not an issue. And they only did it during drought and famine years, or the further north, for where they're from. Otherwise, they didn't bother people. Simo did not have that context, though. So when they attacked, he saw it upon himself to bravely defend. With him and his crossbow, and his friend Ludmilla, and her bow, out in the forest, being a general nuisance. Felt he was a big damn hero. Turns out, he was just inviting ruin, because the year was a particularly bad one. After a while, it became a problem for them, for the tribesmen. Can't remember their names. The Utgard tribesmen. And eventually, they just said, fuck it, we're not taking this anymore. And attacked the village en masse on a bad, bad year. One where the village itself didn't have particularly good resources to share. Simo, following a diversionary raid, went out into the forest to chase them away like a brave little 12-year-old boy would. Ludmilla was back home, though, when the main force of... I keep forgetting their names. Uthgard barbarians came in and was badly injured. And she herself lost her parents. By the time he realized he was being pulled away because they knew something was attacking them, they never really got a good look at the short-ass fucking gnome in the middle of a forest. A forest gnome in the middle of a snowy forest, attacking them at range. They just knew somebody was doing it. So, by the time that he got back, a militia detachment had been called in from Neverwinter and had reinforced the area and chased them off, but Ludmilla was badly injured. Her parents were killed. A lot of people in the village were dead. And while some of them absolutely blamed Simo and were assholes, nobody blamed Simo more than himself. And it was politely suggested that he take some time away from the village. Go back to the city with his parents. He's an older boy now. He can do something like take on an apprenticeship. Get busy, like, away from people. Let heads cool down. Let time heal wounds. And by the time he came back to the village, by the time he felt it was right that he had stayed away long enough, Ludmilla had married the guardsman who saved her life in the attack, and already had a child. Being a genuinely nice fellow, genuinely caring person, especially about family, because, you know, he knows what it's like to not have one. Simo, the freshly minted artificer apprentice, working in a firearms shop, did everything he could to be the best weird uncle that kid and the next several generations, because gnomes live forever, 450 years on average, as opposed to 50 for a human. Like the best, coolest uncle that whole family could have. Behind the scenes, he was getting his airship captain's license, he was working on all sorts of projects, mastering gunsmithing to become a sniper, you know, a natural extension of his hunting and playing in the forest and being the big damn hero. And he kind of pushed some industries out further north. There was a copper mine nearby, and they happened to work out a deal with the village that happened to land in the lap of Ludmilla, at that point, Kozlov's family. So they not only had one of the bigger farms, because most of the other farms were destroyed, but they also had the copper mine nearby, which copper being especially useful for artificing, because it's very ductile, you can make wiring out of it, which is very useful for artificers. Nobody else knows how the shit works, but copper is just damn good. And when he became a captain, he would bring his crew back, bring his ship back every year for the autumn harvest festival. Hence the harvest equinox being the name of it. And he would introduce his crew of former bandits, brigands, and mercenaries with no home to the best family he ever knew. The family he watched grow up. The family he was closest to. And of course his parents, yes, but the family he would never be able to have. Or at least, possibly. Because Ludmilla had married Vasily Kozlov, who became the guard captain of the village. And the thing about being a guard captain, about being in the military, your life expectancy plummets pretty heavily. Meanwhile, being the matron of a farm and a copper mine and on the town council and just in general being town-bound and politically motivated, but not so much so as to be necessarily at risk of assassination, especially in a small town where that doesn't happen, Ludmilla would live a nice, long, happy life. Not as long as Simos, but most likely longer than her husband. And after she's had time to grieve, guess she's single now. That hasn't happened yet. Who even knows if that will happen? But that's what he's thinking, because he's a numbers guy. He's an artificer. He's a long-lived, long-thinking person. He's had a lot of time to think. And he realized he doesn't have to do the whole love rival, fight for the person you care about thing, especially, once they've established a family. Because all he has to do is outlive his love rival, and then get whatever years with the woman of his dreams that she has left. The only way he loses is if she dies first, which is unlikely, but if so, he mourns the loss just like the rest of the family and is there for the rest of the family, because he's already everybody's favorite uncle for a couple generations now. Because, when you have a swarthy airship captain, artificer, gunsmith who brings trinkets from all over the Sword Coast and the nations of the mainland, as far as Chult even, back for the kids, and always has a crew that's, boisterous and has great stories of adventures to tell and shit. Like, you're gonna be everybody's favorite uncle. That's some top uncle territory right there. Unfortunately, he lacks the emotional maturity due to having isolated himself out of shame for having caused that big raid that killed off a lot of people. He lacks the emotional maturity to really see how kind of fucked up all that is. Or really, whether or not Ludmilla actually has an interest in him after all these years. They're good friends, obviously. They're very close. They always have been. And he's incredibly supportive of her family. But, time changes humans a lot faster than it does gnomes. But that's all open-ended story. That's probably not even going to be touched on in the game. It really sort of comes down to Simo's mortality and how it affects the people in a village to the north. Postscript stuff. I'll be surprised if the DM brings it in. It'd be cool, but he knows everything. He knows how he's thinking, and he loves the fact that Simo's a tragic character. He likes the way Simo works, but does also see where I see that, things are a little bit fucky. A little bit weird. Let's take a little bit of this blue and apply it to the lenses of his gas mask. Because of course he has a gas mask. In fact, the original goggles of the knight were incorporated into the mask. Now he keeps the mask because it was sort of a symbol of his. The last thing certain people saw before making very important life choices was the mask of the Autumn Reaper. The Autumn Death, sorry. Leader of the Harvest Reapers. Character who doesn't know how big his story is because he never really wanted it to be big to begin with. But hey. He's been fun to play, and currently he's got this issue where he's, kind of sold his soul to the devil. Or a devil. Well, bartered it. He's on contract for 7 years, 7 months, 7 weeks, 7 days, 7 hours, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds, because that's 7 times 7, and devils love their 7s. For that amount of time, he is a weaponsmith making laser weapons for the Blood War, because radiant damage doesn't affect all devils. But it doesn't not affect any devils. And if you can cheaply arm up demons, does not affect all demons, but doesn't not affect them. And if you can cheaply arm up a competent force of devils with radiant weapons, it can make a big, big difference in the Blood War. And Simo's also the analytical kind of guy to know that the fight between the devils keeping the demons away from the main material realms, fight between the devils and the demons where the demons are trying to get out and the devils are the only things holding them back because nobody else had the balls to stop them, that's a fight you want to see win. That's a fight that it's very easy to say which side you're on. Like, very fucking easy. You don't have to step in on the Blood War, but if you're gonna pitch yourself to something, the opportunity arises. Hey, there's really only one good side there. Keep the Abyss at bay. Rip and tear until it's done. That's assuming he doesn't get away around the ambassador who he's sworn to. And that contract. Simo is clever. Devilishly clever. I should have done these bands before I did the silver, but I had the silver out and I didn't have the gold out. Let's see here. Let's get these cartridges on the sides of the gas mask. Grill on the front. I think it was the Mohawk rim. Okay. Then I will use the gold to pick out the lower end on this pistol. You know, the part that is registered as a gun in America. I have no idea how the audio balance has been this whole time, honestly. Just because I've been leaning forward so damn much. And then... well, let's grab some of this silver. We'll do the box and silver. Silver with gold accenting is a good combo. Also lets me clean things up now. I think I'm getting better about my camera awareness, at least. Pretty new to doing live stuff on camera, and let alone trying to keep myself off of it. And out of the light, which I'm kind of in right now, but that's unavoidable. Okay. And then just a little bit of gold so I can reach in between his legs on the back side of this fucking box. And then I see a spot of silver I missed. Right there. I'm only really paying that much attention because that is an area that will be seen. How do I feel about 5.5e? I have not heard about 5.5e. Are they doing a 5.5e? I really don't want there to be a 5.5e, but they've been really good about not doing that so far. Like, the newest rules expansion was basically a shitload of errata. Okay. Let's grab a red real quick. I think it was you, probably. Oh no, I think it was a little... well, might have been blood. Yeah, let's go with blood red. Next evolution is coming in 24, new set of rulebooks, backwards compatible with existing 5e, and new digital tools. So 2024 means that it's been a decade of 5e. That does scream 0.5. But honestly, we've had about a decade of 5th edition. That's not bad without a major revision. Like, the only game I've really seen that has such a long record between revisions is War Machine with Privateer Press, but it's also... War Machine would not be so good if 40k hadn't have shit the bricks for a while there. Just crapped all over its fucking couch. Oh yeah, this was the red, I'm sure of it. Let's just get this on here. Did only do one layer. Thanks past me from like 2 years ago. Let's go back over to this blue and this flesh that I smeared 2 years ago. Again, thank you myself. Then what I'll do is I'll just go up to this part of the bow, the arch, and get that in red. And then future me, I'll have to figure out where the red ends, the blue begins, and mix the smoke on that. And he'll be saying, thanks, past me from actually probably only about a couple weeks, because I plan on finishing Simo on stream. You guys have been with me this long on the guy. Continuing to talk about his storyline and his background, unless of course he snuffs it in this newest game tomorrow, because they're in the middle of a fucking boss fight. And it's not great. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. We are all out of resources, and if the DM hadn't have literally come up with tactical, strategic, and ultimate powers just as a thing, we would be dead. I mean, my tactical power sucks, but it's also hilarious. Basically, because I'm a beta test to Artificer and Archivist, Simo can teleport to anywhere that is item that he made, an item he infused, or his intelligent construct, his intellect construct is at. And because of this, I've made a whole bunch of items, like really maximize that shit to leave communication open because we're in the middle of a fucking war. Like it's a siege. Rio! Rio! Hello, darling. Welcome in, welcome in. I was just kind of ending, darling, but still had a little bit of darling. Thank you. Still had a bit, we're just winding down. Teleportation can be broken. This stuff is, as an action, he can teleport to within 5 feet of... The Rio will never get old nonetheless. Are you a lost boy? Are you never gonna age? Might explain a few things. But, he gets one of those teleports, probably. Fair enough. He gets one of those teleports for free, and then after that he has to spend a spell slot. And he can only teleport to next to one of his magic items that he makes using his Artificer infusions, or his Awakened Mind construct. His tactical ability is to basically overload that in a frenzy, and just, it's blink. So each turn he rolls a d10, and on like a 11 up, I think it is, he blinks out, but instead of blinking, he teleports to a random item. So I've got a list of the like 15 things he's made, and when the tactical ability comes online, and I use it, he just randoms over to one of these. And these are spread out. Like, each major unit in the siege has one of these to keep in communication. All the player characters have one. Like, there's a bunch of them, so there's all over this huge battlefield. Huge battlefield. He could just show up at random. And he blinks back, I think it is, at the start of his next turn. Which, for blink, is handy because you drop into the ethereal plane where you're not hurt by anything on the material. But he got hit with a Triceratops, his first teleport, when he used his tactical ability the first time, so yeah, that part's not so good. I just started holding my action until I teleported, and that got kind of fun, because then I just pop in next to something, and then club it, and then pop back out. It was fun, but it was completely useless as far as a tactical ability. Just completely terrible. Would not change it though, it's great. Wait, what do I mean by that explains a lot of things? You are very youthful, darling. And I imagine you will keep that youthful energy and energy output that you have for a long, long time. That's what I mean by that. Look, Blink Displacer beasts are cute and cuddly. Who doesn't like a Tentakitty? Since I don't have to worry about much detailing around the feet, I will go ahead and do a quick layer of... Actually, green's starting to dry up because of the fact that this palette's not as moist as it could be. And it's been in the open air for 3 hours now? My players. Smug. Yeah, not wrong. Not wrong. We got a lot of progress on Simo. All of his colors are in. Most of the detail lines are in. The spell arch is going to be a pain in the ass, but I knew that when I designed the mini. The dog just needs his detail coat and highlight. So he's basically done. And then this old boy needs his irises and a little bit of cleanup around the face because that's just going to be always a pain in the butt. And then his base. And then he gets details and that's it. I'll do the eyes last. I think I'll do an ink wash on him to tint that brown, that really dark brown blacker. And then pick out some highlights like the folds on his shoulders, tops of his arms, layers of his explorer pants, highlight his braid, his bangs. Not going to need to do too much highlighting on his flesh, especially since his hands are malformed. Like that hand is... There's a little bit of slurring of the pants into the fingers, but that hand's just tiny. It's got these baby hands. Okay, I'm gonna move over to the computer though, because my butt hurts from sitting here. I'm going to close up the palette though. Oh, my back is stabbing at me now. There we go. Well, let's go to chatting and I'll walk on over to the computer, guys. Oh. Gotta be careful, my lines are tied up now. And now I gotta bring OBS back around, because it's on the wrong monitor. So I can't see shit. Can't see shit, Captain. There we go, there you are. And bring up chat. Hey. Yeah, I was not muted, was walking from workshop to computer. Now over at the computer, darlings. 24 in 3 hours. That 3.5 hours. That does not seem right. I don't get enough darlings in the workshop. Darlings. Yep. Too focused on the projects. I think that's what it is. But either way, this has been fantastic. Thank you everybody who showed up. Of course, thank you to the newest sub of Blue Hair Edda via Kawahime Nakamura. Thank you to Sir Grandpa 2, Sir Grandpa's alt account, I think. But thank you for being the newest darling in the fluff pile. Ding. And of course to everybody who showed up. Rio, Kohime, Alter, Doppel. Think there was a Raffi for a little bit there. And just everybody lurking. Everybody came in. Oh, and Fox, of course. The darling Fox. Yeah. Getting there. Getting there. Might crack 30. I doubt it. This has been fun. I don't know if I'm going to do anything over the weekend. Don't expect my schedule to be out on time again. I'm probably going to be playing some Euro Truck on Saturday with Raffi. I don't know if he's planning on like letting that be a stream or if it's just he wants to Euro Truck. I think he just wants to Euro Truck because he doesn't stream actually. But Monday we start Yakuza 0. if I do something Sunday, it's just going to be going back into the workshop to paint those miniatures still. But I think I might take Sunday off to look into setting up blend shapes on my model. There's a $10 program you can pick up that'll put the AR kit blend shapes in. They suck, but they're in. And then you go through and fine-tune them. And I don't mind paying $10 to find out if that works well or not. That seems to be the way people go. A lot of people are manually inserting all of the blend shapes. I will absolutely let you know how that works out, Alter Darling. Like, there are people who are inputting blend shapes in one by one manually themselves, like psychopaths. But they are talented people. They're skilled. That's not me. I know a little bit about a lot. And I don't know really any Unity. I'm going to be watching a lot of videos over and over again going, but how the thing? Why the thing? Why do I need to download Unity 2018? It's not fair. So I think we'll be seeing y'all Monday for Yakuza 0. And then Thursday's going to be another workshop stream. I like having Thursdays be workshop streams. End of the week, end the stress of things with some time crafting, building, doing something positive. Instead of being positively tired with everything and just going on a first-person shooter spree. Be positive. Be the monster you needed as a child. I needed a monster who accepted my creative output. Creative, skill. Creative interests, and would be a good outlet for that. Among other things. But let's find somebody to raid. Do I have? No, that's not it. Alright, I'll just bring up a new window. Twitch. Pause you, I don't want you. Looks like we've got Malbred's doing Dark Souls 3, Enya's doing Hitman, Ultrarock is doing... Oh! Edda's doing Final Fantasy VII, and Kells is doing Euro Truck Sim. I have not raided Kells in a while, so let's go ahead and raid Kells. So let's see here. And here is another valuable tip as our raid message. I'm gonna copy that. And this is something that, especially if you use a mug or a cup as your paint water device, which is, fine. If it holds water, it holds water. That's what it's supposed to do. But this is something that you will absolutely do. It will happen. You will get your drink and your paint water mixed up, and you will find paint water is not nearly as tasty as you think it is. It's one of the reasons why I 3D printed a custom paint cup, and also one of the reasons why I use a grown-ass sippy cup. One of those, on-the-go bottle type things. Let's get this raid going. /raid Kelly0C. There we go. Don't think it's tasty. That bothers me that you had to tell me it wasn't tasty as I thought it was. Well, yeah, it's better with acrylic paints, honestly, than it is with enamel paints, because acrylic paints aren't poison. They are literally non-toxic. let's get us on over to the Indo screen. I think Sunday I'm also going to redesign these a bit. They are a bit off balanced, but that's all good. And folks, you guys have yourselves a wonderful Friday, a fabulous weekend, and I'll see you Monday. As always, be the monster you needed as a child, love without hesitation, and fight for peace. Y'all have a wonderful night now. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.